Hey, Rebel Bankers, welcome back to the Real Estate Money School. I'm your host, Chris Noggle, and I've got an awesome guest from Anchorage, Alaska. So we decided to look at the map and go as far away as we possibly could and find guests. But, we got Joe Bell from Legacy Beyond Listings, and we're going to talk about some really awesome stuff when it comes to real estate, when it comes to brokerages. We're going to talk about money. Joe probably doesn't know this, but that always comes into play. So in a second, you're going to kind of hear a little bit more about Joe, but first I want to talk about all of you. And I want to talk about your journey to becoming a Rebel Banker. That journey always starts with you being here with us, you learning, you gathering knowledge. Now, knowledge comes in a lot of places. People love podcasts, but books are a great place of knowledge. You can go on YouTube. Knowledge is everywhere around us. But it's not about you getting knowledge. You've been taught that that's part of it, but the most important thing is application of the knowledge you get. Until you decide to take the leap and actually apply what you learn, nothing in your life will ever change. Real estate deals will not happen. Money in your accounts will not grow. You will not have success if you don't learn to apply knowledge. So that's where it starts, folks. Application of the knowledge. So let me give you a challenge because I want to see how many of you will actually apply knowledge and apply things. So what if I offer you a free book? I'm going to offer you not just one, but I'm going to offer you 2 books for free. So my book, The Private Money Guide, where all the money is for all your real estate deals, and my newest book, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, The Secret to What the Wealthy Do with Money. You can have both of those books for free. All you're going to do is you're going to go to my website, chrisnoggle.com, go to the resources tab, 2 finger swipes down, click on free book, and all you do, you can either get the ebook for free, or if you want the actual book, you just pay the shipping. So let's see how many of you actually take knowledge or take action on what you can learn from this podcast and from those books. So with that being said, let's talk about Joe. Joe, welcome to the show.
Hey man, I really appreciate being here. And does that offer apply to me as well? Can I go to the website and
Absolutely. So you're an action taker. You're like, all right, I'm already online getting the books.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So Joe, there's so much to talk about with you. I mean, you've written a book too, Assets, Acquisitions, and Abundance. What an awesome title, man. True Wealth and Legacy Through Real Estate. And you say something in your bio, you talk about market domination. You're in Anchorage, Alaska. So, if you could tell everybody a little bit about what you do up there in Anchorage.
Yeah. So I've been in the real estate industry now for about 15 years. I started as a 26-year-old fresh out of college trying to figure out what in the heck I was going to do. I had a failed baseball career that kind of, pushed me into the real world, so to speak. And, I've been on the transactional side of the game for so long. So working with clients and customers, and I got to a point where I was starting to see so many opportunities that they were taking advantage of. And, I just knew I had to figure out how I could start taking part in it. And early on in my career, I had one of the old dinosaurs of the industry. He said, Joe, you get into real estate to buy real estate, not sell it. Right. And it totally struck a chord with me to where I started just looking for different opportunities. And, I didn't have a lot of wealth. I didn't have a lot of money as a 26-year-old. In fact, there were many times where I had to ask my girlfriend to pay our mortgage, pay our rent.
Whoa, hold on a second. So you don't know my story, but in 2008, I almost lost it all developing a strip mall. And I had to one night come crawling back to my house where my beautiful girlfriend just moved in. And I asked her to pay the mortgage, the utilities, and let my friends move into bedrooms. I love it, Joe. Keep going, man. That's
good. I mean, this is the stuff dreams are made of. So what's really cool is that girl and I just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. We have 3 beautiful kids. So I knew she was a keeper at that time, and I stuck her with me, throughout it all. So, but anyway, it was one of these scenarios where I was just seeing a lot of wealth that was transferring hands, and I wasn't ever part of the transaction outside of, some commissions. So one of the investors that we worked with kind of took me under his arm a little bit. And this was after quite a while of me pushing and prodding and, just continuing to knock on his door to get him to open up to us. And finally he did. And, we ended up doing one deal together, and that set us off to where we built a company. And I think we ended up taking about 130,000 in total, and grew it to, 180,000 and grew it to about 318,000 over 5 years of being involved with him and his wife on the investment side of game. And that's not a huge amount of money by any means, right? And so what it has really forced me to do in looking at the real estate investment side of the game is how can I help individuals, right? My clients, my customers, other real estate professionals get some of these wins. I come from a baseball background, so we talk about base hits over home runs a lot. And, being able to help somebody jump into an investment where they're able to pick up an extra 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, right? That's, we start getting into some really sexy numbers and we can run down a long path, the higher we go. And in reality, for me, it made a lot more sense focusing on the different opportunities where we can, pick up an extra 10 to 20,000 on, several transactions through the year. So that's where I came about this concept of assets. So your strengths, right? Or an asset, a business, a structure, many of the different assets that are available to us, but using our talents and using our strengths as assets to go and acquire more assets, if that translates.
Yeah, absolutely. Assets, acquisitions, and
abundance. Yeah, no, it all leads to it, right? And so our focus has really been on helping people understand who they are, what they have, and how to apply that in the industry to go get them, something that can help them out, either a little or a lot, and, potentially build the life, build the vision, and build the wealth that they're searching for.
It's interesting because there's so many people. I mean, given the times we're at, so those of you watching this right now, we're in the middle of COVID. We're not at the first phase, but call this the second phase, wherever we're at. We're not out of the woods yet, not even close to being out of the woods. Matter of fact, it's starting to get dark out and the critters are coming out and they don't sound like furry little animals that you want to pet. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So it's an interesting time because right now, with what's going on, you've got a crazy scenario that's developing. And I think this is probably the case up in Anchorage, but it's certainly the case here in New York, is during COVID, everything was locked down. So no one wanted to list their house. No one could even show houses. Nobody could do anything. So all the houses that were supposed to go on the market did not go on the market. But then the Fed drops interest rates to almost zero. So now we're in this crazy low interest rate cycle. And now you've got a ton of people who have a bunch of extra money because they can't go out and spend it. Plus the government's been just giving them free money. So it creates this crazy, I call it a bubble. I call it a giant balloon that's being inflated right here. Now you might think of it different, but real estate values are out of control. I live in little old Buffalo, New York, and the price of real estate here has increased by 33% this spring alone. 33%.
That's insane.
You can't even buy a house right now. I know people that are trying. I mean, we're big flippers. I can't even keep a house on the market more than like a couple of days. But, I know people that have made offers on 10 to 15 houses and lost it. And they've gone over $30,000, $40,000. Now, listen, you don't know Buffalo, but that crap doesn't happen here, man. So there's a ton of people jumping in to be realtors. I can't tell you how many people I talk to. Oh, I'm going for my realtor license. Oh, I'm going for my realtor license. Oh, I'm going for my realtor license. And I'm like, good for you. But I love that you said that old mentor said, you get into real estate to acquire real estate, not to just sell real estate. But so many people are jumping in because they're literally conforming and riding this, like, whatever you want to call this bubble. And they're thinking that they're going to make all this money coming in to sell real estate. What is your take on the current state of affairs where we're at? Not only that, the influx of people, and it's probably great for your business, but I guess I'm playing devil's advocate and saying,
totally.
where does this bubble pop? Where does it end? Where do all these new realtors go? Like, what should they do?
No, it's
a lot. I unpacked a lot there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'll do my best. And if you can kind of keep me in the guidelines here. So state of affairs. Yeah, we are definitely seeing the same scenario play out here. I think people just got bored. They were like, I agree. You know what? I'm either going to become a day trader in the stock market because that kangaroo market is right. And people can make money and they can lose a lot of money in that. But, I saw a lot of folks, jump into that just to do something because they were bored. And then like you, I saw a lot of folks jump over into the real estate side of things. And we definitely saw the influx of listings where it was like, nothing happening, and then all of a sudden, boom, and it just hasn't stopped. So the current state of affairs up here, we're a little disconnected from the contiguous 48 states. And so what we're looking at with some of the shutdowns in appliance factories, right? And some of these, I mean, let's just call it materials. I can go into Lowe's right now, and I don't know if you guys are experiencing this as well. I can go into Lowe's right now and say, hey, how many stainless steel fridge do you have on hand? And they're like, we have 3. So you guys are experiencing that as well?
Maybe even worse.
Yeah.
The cost of things is through the roof. You can't get anything. I mean, we just had me and my wife just had our first baby, and we wanted like a little chest freezer. We had to wait 6 weeks to get a chest freezer, man. Like normally they got 50 of those things in the storage room and they're just giving them away. Now you can't even get one.
Yeah. I think a lot of us flippers are counting down the days for their next delivery. And then you look at, like a piece of OSB plywood, right? The shit plywood. I think we're raising from $19 to close to $40 per sheet.
Correct.
Like insanity. So when I look at this and I hear a lot of folks talk about this bubble, well, there's a lot of dynamics underneath the bubble that are playing out right now. You've got the low interest rates. You've got who knows what's going to happen with jobs and people's incomes and everything on that side of the world. Well, now you start increasing materials by 40% or whatever it's going to be, and existing structures become that much more valuable. So I don't know, right? I don't know the answer. I don't have the crystal ball. What I do know is that at the end of the day, in any situation, good, bad, whatever it is, if you continue to focus on your activities, right, what you know works, and there's evolution that comes into play. But if you focus on your activities, I think we're going to be okay in that regard, right? You still, keep putting your nose to the grindstone and focusing on the activities, looking as much forward as you can for opportunities. And, we're going to come out of this, who knows when, but I can't sit here and allow my brain to go down the deep, dark path of what if, and, doom and gloom. I have to stay in abundance.
I love it. So, one of my good friends, and, he's since left us, wrote a book, Hard Times Create Strong Men. Stefan Arnio is his name. And in that book, he talks about, the hard times, and you go back in time, World War I, World War II, we created a lot of strong people, not just men. His book is Hard Times Create Strong Men, but create strong men. But right now, and for so long, we've been in easy times, and easy times create weak men, and that's what he talks about in his book. And I want to take that parallel of what Stefan wrote about into kind of what's happening in real estate. So I know I used to own a company, well, I still do own it. We just don't take students on, called Flip Out Academy. We trained and mentored flippers, right? And that's what we did. And we had a perfect success track history. But in 18, I stopped wanting to flip. After our show hit HGTV for flipping, it was called Risky Builders, I didn't really want to do it anymore. And I just saw that we were kind of rounding the curve. And here we are, like I'm barely flipping. I'm doing a lot of some wholesale, and I'm selling a ton of my rental portfolio off right now because I truly believe when others are greedy, I should be fearful and buy low, sell high, and don't lose money. So that's what I'm doing. But back with the book, if we're in these easy times, somebody comes in and they're, they become a realtor and they got some friends and they list these houses and the house just sells. They didn't even have to do anything really. They put the listing paperwork in, maybe they staged it, maybe they didn't, and the house sells. Like, I just feel like this current environment is painting a completely false picture for so many people that are getting into the industry that, oh my God, this is easy money. This is always how it is. But that's not the case. Realtors that I remember back in the early days when I was doing this in 06, 09, 10, they worked their tail off, man. They did above and beyond. They really, really went out there and busted butt and found new ways. Today, that's not the case. Like, what would you say to some, because there's a lot of people entering this industry as realtors, and hopefully they convert over to the investors because that's where the real money is. But what advice would you give them, and what would you warn them about if that's, the environment that they're entering into?
Yeah, so all boats float with a rising tide. Everybody's heard it. It's been said time and time again. I was fortunate enough to come up in a down market, which has paved the way for our success. So first and foremost, don't get comfortable with where we are right now. celebrate the wins, but understand that there's a harder time and a bigger challenge right around the corner. And even if it doesn't show up, why not be prepared for it? Right. So, for folks coming in and, getting a couple of nice, easy base hits and, padding their income, you cannot get comfortable with how this is. This is a great opportunity to be taking territory, to really be expanding. So if it is that approachable and that easy, if it's coming to you that easy, then pour on a little bit more to go and capture more of that market if you can. That would be a really great opportunity, because what's going to happen is when things turn, all those folks, all your market, your sphere is going to then come back and look at you and go, okay, what do we do now? Right. And they're going to need you in that scenario. So if you come into this and it's just cruise control, you're not going to be prepared for when it takes a turn and people go, okay, what now? You're going to kind of flounder, and then they're going to end up with somebody that's been in the game, grinding day in and day out. It doesn't matter how long they've been in. They're just going to end up with those folks that have been, proving themselves day in and day out. So don't get comfortable.
That's phenomenal advice. And I think, you said a lot of key things there that, I really would have a hard time unpacking every one of them. But one of the key things is, I think right now, because it is, easy times, if you will, there's a lot of people buying real estate. You can list a house and it just sells over ask and you're like, wow, this is easy. It's not because you're so much a great realtor. It's because it's just easy times. So I think right now is a time when most people, like if you are making good money, if you're out there doing good in real estate and you're making this, don't go out and think that new car is the next thing, or, spend up to your income. Take and set some rules. Read the book Profit first off, and set up some accounts for marketing. Because right now, one of the best things I think people can do is do what everybody else is unwilling to do. And what are people unwilling to do when times are really good? A lot of times when times are really good, they just get accustomed to doing less and making more. And what they should be doing is actually doing a lot more and spending a lot more on marketing to make, like you said, take that, what did you call it? You said take territory. Take territory. I like that terminology. That's awesome. That's fun.
I didn't make it up.
and I think that's just a lot to be learned, is do what everybody else is unwilling to do, and you are bound for success. And also when you're doing that, make sure that your thoughts are within that. Make sure that you know what you're working toward, what you want your life to look like in 5 years, even if the whole thing falls apart. Let's just say next year after the election, the bubble pops, everything collapses and falls apart. You know what the best part about that is? That would be the best thing for all real estate investors that could possibly happen, because that will create an opportunity you may never see again in your lifetime. And I always refer, you remember the movie Back to the Future?
Oh yeah.
You like that movie?
Oh yeah. All of them. I love them.
Wouldn't it be awesome if we could just get back in that DeLorean and just take it back to 2008, knowing what we know now, go back to 2008. What would your life look like right now if you were able to do that with what you know today?
Yeah, no, it would be, who knows what it would be, right? Because back in 2008, I was a 28-year-old punk trying to figure it out. And maybe I would have celebrated a little too much and gotten too deep into it, right? But knowing back then what you knew now, I mean, the 20 of that, oh man.
I should have framed that up. What if your age right now, you could just go back and just spend a couple years just kind of doing that, and then take the time machine back to now. What would your life look like? That would have been a better way to frame that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, in sport, as it is in business and in day-to-day life, and the book that you mentioned, Hard Times, whatever it is, the title. Yep, Create Strong Men. That was a defining moment in time for me. 2007, 8, and 9. Didn't know what I was doing. The market was hard. Like, man, sitting on the phone with asset managers for short sales for 2.5 hours just so you could get your facts in with your offer, like just totally different flip-flop from then and now, and it definitely helped us understand how to prepare moving forward. So we're in a great time right now, and this is where I just start to harp on our real estate professionals to say, get yourself an asset, something that is going to help build wealth in the future. Even if there is an immediate pullback in that, you still have the asset. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that you said that.
So,
you're absolutely correct. Who cares if it drops in value? If you maintain the asset, you can't not win.
Right. Yep. So, and not a lot of the real estate professionals out there actually, my percentage here and what I'm going to quote could be off. It's what I see in my market and having conversations around the country. I would venture to guess that less than 5 to 7% of real estate professionals are actually able to retire on their own wealth that they've built, right? The majority of our market and the majority of our industry lives from transaction to transaction, right? Oh, I just need that next house to sell. Then I'll make up that payment. Just need that house to sell. And then I'll go do this with those dollars. And it never comes to fruition, right? Because something comes up and those dollars have to go different directions, or it's tax time or whatever it may be. And that's where I harp on legacy beyond listings. You have to be focused on how to get a piece of the pie, because the wealth is being distributed right in front of your face. You're seeing the deals day in and day out. So you have to find a way to get in there. Even if it's 3%, 5%, it will start to grow to where now you're able to participate in 20%, right? And so on and so forth. You just have to be in the conversation around assets. That is a key component that most real estate professionals are missing.
Man, I love that. Was fantastic, because you know what? And I didn't know where this podcast was going to go, because, I knew you were a brokerage, and I'm like, okay, are we going to just talk about realtors? But you're actually taking, your knowledge in the brokerage world as a realtor or, broker in your case, but, I'm just trying to make sure people have that parallel, that they're kind of one and the same. And you're paralleling that to say, this is how I make an income, but I take that income or a portion of it and I put it over in assets. And, as soon as you said that, all of a sudden I had a moment of clarity when you said your name, Legacy Beyond Listings. And I don't know why I didn't catch that when I first read it, but all of a sudden it just made perfect clarity that you use your brokerage as a way to acquire more assets. And then those assets are what are going to pave the way for the rest of your life and provide your legacy. And you have some children too, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
There you go. So, that's a huge thing. And, I know a lot of realtors, and I know a lot of realtors that literally do exactly what you just said. They're always waiting for the next deal to close. They're always on the phone. When's this deal closing? When is this deal closing? And I'm always thinking, dude, you're driving that brand new BMW. You're in these fancy suits. You got this fancy, stuff. You got all these things. Like, why are you like so pressed on like this next commission? Yeah. Like, why you should, with all this stuff, man, you should just be like, when it closes, it closes, that'll be a good day. And I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, but you're not, you're chasing it. And you know how, so that's the real estate world, but you know where else that world exists? The world I used to live in. The financial advisory world. I spent 16 years as a high-level financial advisor. Right. And you know what? So many of the advisors, myself included, I'm not gonna pretend that I wasn't that guy. I was always waiting for that next commission, that next, fee that was gonna, pay out. And that's how I did everything. That's how I did my first flips in 06, was waiting for the commissions. Commission coming in. Oh, now I can put the siding on. Commission came in. All right, that's the windows. It was, but luckily I was doing it into real estate. But it was
you were always, also earning a return.
I was, but
in the process.
That was by mistake. I had nowhere else to go, man. I bought this flip and I had nowhere else to pull money from. So I'm like, okay, well, I got to sell to finish it. It was kind of just, you could spin that one to make it seem like I was really smart doing that, but it was really just a necessity at that point. And, it's sad, because I think we all have to, really take a step back and really do like that, what we talked about, where you really use these times to gain territory. I'm going to keep saying that, because this is those times where it's going to really pave the next few years. If we do dip and start going down, you're going to be the leader. And so many other people that were just counting that next commission to go buy that next fancy thing, they're going to be looking to you being like, dude, how did you do it? Show me the way. And you all of a sudden become the light in the darkness. You're not the one burying your head in the sand. And I think what you're talking about, even the name of your company, Legacy Beyond Listings, is phenomenal. So real quick, now, we've talked a lot about brokerage, and I know we're getting kind of to the top of the hour on this podcast, but you're a big real estate investor. Can you just tell everybody a little bit about some of the strategies that are working for you as an investor? Yeah.
So I'm going to tie two pieces together here, right? So what I like to zing some of the real estate professionals out there with is asking them the question, why are you renting your career, right? Why are you renting your real estate license? Why are you not buying real estate? And it goes for financial advisors as well, right? So with that analogy, for so many years, I was renting my career. I was just using it to go do another transaction and get another commission. And it wasn't until I started putting two and two together going, oh, well, here's all the opportunities right here, So jumping in, I didn't have a lot of cash to play with, which is where I went out and I found a mentor already doing it. And like I said, I prodded him until he finally said, okay, fine. Yeah, come here. I'll show you, And so we've been flipping for since '09. We've been flipping, and it's been a real nice, easy float, right? We did the BRR method where we held for 2 years as we did the upgrades, which is just part of our lifestyle now. I mean, my wife and I think we've been in 9 or 11 homes in the last 6 years. It's just something that we do. Like,
it's fun, man. Hey, why not?
It's not me though. It's her. Like she'll say it all day long. Yeah, you see the inventory come up every day. You're like, that looks interesting. And part of what we do is we look for the value in each scenario, right? We're really looking for arbitrage. We're saying, okay, here's something undervalued and we can add value and then profit from it, right? And we've also done that with some of the people that we've come into contact with, right? I mean, there are some amazing, natural, talented individuals out there, and we look to bring those folks into our environment if they are looking for those sorts of opportunities. So not only is it in assets and structures, it's people as well. It's just part of who we are in that regard. So flipping carried us to a point where we were able to build up a nice chunk of change. And now we've jumped into some development. So we're developing 4 units right now on a piece of property that we'll probably put 8 on. We are we're in contract to purchase a small boutique hotel. There's just a lot of really cool things that have transpired as a result of this focus on how to get involved with assets. And it started with, I think it was a 7 or 8% ownership stake in one property. And from there, I just kept turning it and turning it and turning it until it was like, one day I looked back and I was like, oh, wow, we have 90,000, right? And then it kept turning and turning and turning. And it was like, oh, wow, now we're sitting on $400,000 in equity in these properties, right? And you just keep applying it to, the point you made. We're not driving the fanciest of, I think my wife drives a 2008 Tahoe with like 130,000 miles on it, right? I mean, we've stepped back from all the fancy, cool crap that we could accumulate and really focus on experiences and building our life and our lifestyle around what we really want. So we live in a ski resort town with 1,200 people. We get to spend so much time with our kids and just create experiences for them, as opposed to, the $800 to $1,000 BMW payment coming out each month. So
yeah, love it, man. And that's the way to do it.
That's a bad thing, right? It's just different choices.
It's just different choices. And listen, you know what? To each their own on that level. Like some people just feel like the car is like the symbol of success. And, I always liked cars, but I always had used cars. And for the last 5 years of my life up until recently, I drove pickup trucks because they were conducive to what I did. I just liked pickup trucks. I don't know what it was. And my wife drove, a nice vehicle, but it was just a used vehicle. And we've always believed, outside of the work vehicles, in paying, buying our vehicles, not leasing them and trying to pay them off. So that's how we do that. But, I think there's a lot to be said about that you can either drive the fancy car and look like the big shot, but then when everything falls out away, you can lose the fancy car and then you're not the big shot anymore and then you're at the bottom. Or you can give up a little, take the difference, and then go out there and, I'm going to try to use your words, assets, acquisitions, and abundance. You take and you build assets, which gives you the ability to have acquisitions, and then there you go. Now you got the abundance. And all you had to do is give up that new car or that new fancy watch that you're thinking about buying, whatever it is.
Whatever.
Take a step back, and you'll take 2 steps forward. And I think this has been a great podcast. There's been a lot of golden nuggets. Joe, how would my audience go about learning more about you, about your company, and what you do?
So legacybeyondlistings.com. You can go ahead and either download the case study that we have on that site, reach out with questions. This book is almost ready for Amazon. Man, this thing started out as 8 bullet points, right? Somebody asked me, hey, what do you do? You put it into 8 bullet points, and it just kept growing and growing and growing. What a process. And you've done it twice, man. Congratulations. Like, oh man. So this will be on Amazon. I think technically it is there, but we had one last edit that we were doing. So, but legacybeyondlistings.com, real easy way to branch out. I've got appointments there on my calendar that folks can schedule, more for the conversation. I love the idea of creating relationships across the country and seeing how I might be able to help. You know, I don't necessarily have all the time to give everyone all the time, but folks that are really, truly interested in potentially getting involved in the investment side of the industry, I love those conversations. So that's the easiest way to reach out and get in touch.
I love it. So folks, you just go to his website, legacybeyondlistings.com, or you can just check the description. It'll be in there as well. And when that book hits, Assets, Acquisitions, and Abundance, make sure you grab a copy of that on Amazon. So as we're in closing, there was a lot of golden nuggets there. I hope you guys take some of this knowledge and you actually apply it. Even if it's just one thing, always remember that one thing could be everything in your life. I gave you a challenge early on. Your challenge to becoming a rebel banker involves you taking action. So that action was grab a copy of one of my books. So you can get the Private Money Guide or Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. You can grab one of those or both of those for free. You just go to chrisnoggle.com/resources, 2 swipes, free books, and away you go. And there's a lot of other resources there, and everything is free. I truly believe in life that if you're ever going to be massively successful, you have to find a way to help other people get what they want. And sometimes that involves giving before you get. So folks, go out there, take some of this knowledge, apply it in your life, and you will live a life of abundance, as Joe says in his book. So thank you, Joe, for joining us. So awesome of a podcast, and I know people are going to love it. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, Chris, I appreciate the opportunity. And if another opportunity should rise to where I can help you or assist you, I'd love to reciprocate the time here. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So folks, thanks for joining us for the Real Estate Money School. We'll see you guys on the next episode.